welcome here to Talk FCB, and welcome back to the channel, guys, to a Barça news roundup today, and we are going to be discussing the latest on the transfer front, because I know you've all been missing the transfer window. It's been gone now for about 2 weeks or so, but here we are going to be discussing some rumours relating to Raheem, Paul Pogba, and indeed Matthijs de Ligt. It is all coming up, so let's get to it. Because indeed, guys, it has been pretty widely reported over the past few weeks that once the January transfer window comes around, Barca will have money to spend if and when we require it there in any sort of area that the team desperately needs for that next push, or if something really good presents itself. Barca will apparently have around 40 million if, like I say, we do need it. And obviously as well, not just about January here, but looking towards next summer, the summer of 2022, we would expect to be in a much better and much more stable financial situation after the really important work and the sort of groundwork that we did in the summer just gone. And hopefully next summer, we can significantly strengthen this team. And if we do indeed start right here with the first transfer rumour that we are going to discuss, and it is Dani Olmo, who was heavily linked to Barca during the final days there of the summer transfer window. There was a rumour that Barca had made a 75 million bid in the final days there of that window. I just want to say, and I just want to clear that up, that was not true. Barca never made any bid, let alone a 75 million bid. We didn't have that sort of money, and we would not be looking to spend that kind of sum on Dani Olmo, but quite clearly it is still a player that Barca have been tracking now for quite some time, pretty much ever since he left the club. Of course, Dani Olmo was here with us at La Masia between 2007 and 2014. Since then, he's really gone on and forged a career for himself, playing some great football along the way. I think in particular, when you look at the Euros, he was really good there for Spain during the summer with Luis Enrique, and he's also started to really impose himself in that RB Leipzig team in the Bundesliga. He's somebody there capable of playing from either wing. You know, he can play out wide if you need him to. He can also play there in a more central attacking midfield sort of area. But that is the one part of Dani Olmo that I would look at and say, okay, if we are serious about it, if he is somebody who we want to bring back to the club, you need to work out exactly where you're going to play him, exactly where he fits in. And especially now, given there's questions about the coach, there's doubts about exactly who's going to be our coach in the long term, you need to be thinking about, when you're signing players like this, where do they fit, who is going to be in charge, and exactly how that could work out. But it has been reported there that Dani Olmo would be really keen, if the chance arrives, to return to Barca. And it has also been said that agreeing personal terms there in terms of wages would not be a problem. Given that Olmo perfectly understands the club's situation, he would be willing to accept very reasonable wages in order to make that return happen. However, there is still the stumbling block there of that transfer fee. Barca apparently, like I say, wouldn't be paying anywhere near that reported 75 million. Barca would be looking there to pay between 30 to 40 million there to sign Dani Olmo. And the question really would be, is that going to be enough? RB Leipzig there, whether it be in January or certainly next summer too, they're under no pressure at all to sell. He's under contract there until 2024. I feel as though they will demand more, but certainly Dani Olmo's somebody to keep an eye on throughout this season. Up next, though, we do have to discuss the latest rumours there surrounding Raheem and whether Barca are indeed looking to make a move there for the forward. Because according to the local media in Barcelona, we are targeting a loan move for Sterling come the January transfer window. Because right now, he doesn't really seem to be in Pep Guardiola's plans, certainly starting this season. Man City have so many options, don't they, in those attacking areas. Sterling has only made just one start for them this season. Hence why Barca are looking into that January market, they're looking into the loan market, and Raheem could indeed be available, providing that Pep gives the okay. And apparently this is a deal here that the club also attempted back in the summer, which back then Man City were not so keen on. They weren't really happy to allow that to happen so close towards the end of the window. But come January, could that position change? Now look, back in the summer, I could very much understand that kind of move, because obviously in the summer transfer window, we lost Messi, we lost Griezmann, plenty of goals there were effectively leaving the club, and obviously this would have been an option before the signing of Luke de Jong, and along with all the injuries that we had, two forward players at that time. So you could understand there why the club were looking at options and Sterling would have been somebody who could come in and make an impact. But it is interesting to me that by January, we could be in a very different sort of situation. You look at it right now, we should have Ansu Fati back for quite some time by then. We're all hoping that, he can get fully back into his stride. And by January, he hopefully will be firing on all cylinders. You will definitely have Ousmane Dembele back by then. You should definitely have Sergio Aguero back by then. Hopefully they can stay injury-free. And I'm just not really sure that come January, it'll be the same situation as back in the summer. Because yes, Sterling, I feel, can certainly be a player who can be effective in a 4-3-3 formation. We've seen him play very, very well under Pep Guardiola. He can be somebody who can stay wide. We do need that at this club. But he would command big wages. And I just think at a time now when we're trying to save every possible euro in terms of salary, in terms of paying players big sums, do we really want to add another forward on top of that when we got all these players coming back? And let's face it, Sterling is not exactly in great form. If he was scoring goals, if he was playing really, really well, Man City wouldn't want to let him go. They would never even consider sending him out on loan. So I'm just not really sure. Of all the positions in the squad that need strengthening, especially there in that January transfer window, a forward, given the players we've got coming back, I'm not sure that's where the wages should be going. Then, of course, there is another Premier League player to discuss, and this one is a big one. We are going to discuss Paul Pogba here, who has had an excellent start of the season. Let's be honest here, Pogba has started the season really, really well at Man United. He has 7 assists there in just 4 Premier League games so far. And obviously, that hasn't always been the case for him at Man United. Of course, he returned there from Juventus in 2016, and he has been on the verge, I feel, of leaving the club several times over the years. He's been linked there to PSG, to Juventus, of course, a return back there, and even to Real Madrid. So much so that right now Paul Pogba is still yet to commit his long-term future to United, meaning that as it stands right now, he would be a free agent come the summer. And of course, if that should happen, you would imagine there's plenty of suitors. Because when it comes to Barca and our potential interest there in signing Paul Pogba, it is no secret whatsoever that Joan Laporta is a really big fan of him. That has been very much illustrated over the years. You remember that back in the 2015 election there, when Laporta was trying to become president over Bartomeu, how we wish that could have happened, but what he did promise at the time was the signing of Paul Pogba after he was in discussions there with Mino Raiola to make it happen. And according there to source Fichajes, Laporta has spoken with Mino Raiola once again to just inquire about exactly what it would take to sign Pogba on a free in the summer. Of course, he would imagine that it would be extraordinarily high wages, especially given the fact that he would be available for nothing. So you imagine what Raiola is thinking. I'm going to have a big signing on fee. I'm going to have big wages for my client. That is basically his idea of heaven. What I also want to say, though, is Fichajes, they're not the most reliable source in the world. So people here claiming that Pogba is going to be off to Barca, I think that is very, very much premature right now. We shouldn't read too much into this. And actually, with what Raiola has been saying recently about Pogba, he admitted that he may indeed leave United in the summer, but he's been speaking of late more towards a return to Juventus than any move to La Liga, to Barca, or Real Madrid. But indeed, speaking of Juventus and speaking of them potentially this summer really paying out there to bring in a big star, could one be going out in the other direction? Because I want to talk right now about De Ligt, of course, who had the chance back in 2019 of joining either Juventus or Barcelona. And instead there of following his good friend and his teammate at the time, Frenkie de Jong, he could have gone to Barca and he could have really settled in nicely there. He instead chose to join Juventus with what apparently was a much more lucrative offer. And I say De Ligt chose to join Juventus. Probably Raiola had a significant part and was the driving force behind sending him to Turin. And even back then, guys, as soon as that move happened, you knew that De Ligt in the end, he would end up regretting it. That's the way that it felt, because even with the struggles that we've gone through as a club, even the disappointments that we've had over the past few years, you just know that De Ligt would have settled really well here. We would have really taken to him. He was somebody that we really needed. The heart of our defence desperately needed some reinforcement. Instead, though, he went to Juve, and it hasn't exactly worked out in the way that he would have hoped. And it is interesting, because looking ahead to this summer, you look at the start that Juventus has had to the season, it's been disastrous domestically. They have really struggled in those opening games of the season. De Ligt has come under significant criticism there, not only from fans, but also from inside the club. And apparently this summer, should an offer arrive that Juve would be happy with, they would not think twice about parting ways with De Ligt. And it is interesting as well, because Raiola has also been speaking about De Ligt's future. This guy absolutely loves to talk. He said that Matthijs de Ligt is one of the best centre-backs in Europe. He could leave Juventus at the end of the season. The transfer market sometimes works in this way. And also when he was speaking about Romagnoli linking up with De Ligt at Juventus this summer, Raiola did add, but it's not for sure, that De Ligt will stay at Juventus. So quite clearly there, Raiola believes that this summer he could certainly be on his way out. Barça are one of those clubs who I'm sure would be interested. But again, the question would be, what kind of fee would they be looking for? Signed, of course, back in 2019 for 75 million euros. What would they be looking for now? Or potentially, are there any players that we can work with there with regard to a player swap? Those sorts of deals may well be being considered. And on De Ligt, watch this space. So those right there, guys, are some of the transfer rumours circulating right now. And I think, of course, we are all enjoying a bit of a break from the transfer window. The last one that we were involved in was very emotionally draining. But I think certainly when January comes around, and certainly looking towards the summer of 2022, it should be a much more positive time for us. We should definitely be able to be more on the offensive than losing our own players. That's what we should hope for anyway. But please do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below there on Dani, Olmo, also Raheem, Sterling, Pogba, and indeed there, what's your take on De Ligt after rejecting us in 2019? Would you take him now? Or for you, did he already miss his chance? Let me know, guys, with all of those thoughts and your opinions down below. I'll be seeing you soon, of course, as we start to build up for that Barça versus Granada game. It'll all be coming soon, right here. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça!